Okay, so right now we are in the second week of July. I've been getting a ton of messages on my LinkedIn about September and resubmissions. I don't have time to go through all of them, but I've compiled a list of 5 cases where that's very general. 5 cases in which if you fit in one of those, most likely you shouldn't resubmit your proposal for September. And 5 cases in which if you fit under them, you should submit your proposal for September. Okay. So for the not submit, if your score is really poor, so if your score is really high, so if you have 55, 65, maybe most likely the things you have to address are not going to be addressed until September, in a month and a half. So probably those are major issues and you need a bit more time to address them. So if your score is really poor, maybe you should wait for January. Second case, you saw that most of the sections scored relatively well, but significance didn't. This means that you have a good approach, you have a good team, you have a good environment, project is well outlined, but NIH doesn't think there's merit in your innovation. They're not excited. That's usually when you see the enthusiasm moderate. So in that case, you can make the best proposal you want. They just don't want to address that problem. There's many other priorities. That's why strategy is so important, and you need to align to the priorities of the funding agency. Number 3, you don't have time to fix the critiques. So you went through the critiques, they are really valid, really good. You agree that those are things you should do, but in a month and a half, you just don't have time. So you need another agreement for a subcontractor, but you have a lot of work to do, or you have to hire another team member and you don't have time in a month and a half to really find the right person to put in your grant. Okay, so maybe you should wait for January. And the 5th one, 2, 3, 4. No, the 4th one, you don't have, well, it's combined 4 and 5. So 4 is you don't have a clear product. So this is a research grant. Shouldn't be applying for the SBIR. You better suit it for an R grant. 21, R1, something else. You don't have a commercial product. You don't have a innovation that can be commercialized. And then the 5th is related to this one, which is you do have a product, but your commercial pathway is not well thought at all. You probably were a scientist and you haven't partnered up with the right business people, and you didn't hire anybody to work on you with the strategy. So even though your product has a great potential to be commercialized, that doesn't transpire in the proposal. So the reviewer sees through that and they are not sure what you're going to do for phase 2. So in those cases, you should not resubmit for September. Shouldn't even try. Don't waste your time. Okay. So in the submit, so who should most likely submit for September? And this is just general case, there is exception for everything, and you can send your proposal my way, or somebody said I'm happy to give you some advice, but I just don't have much time. So anyway, to go through all of this. Submit. If you scored less than 45 in the proposal, most likely everything you have to address is minor or can be addressed in a month and a half. Some cases that's not the case, but most likely you will have minor comments. Then this is very common. When 2 reviewers scored your proposal really well, like really high, they gave you scores 1 to 4, and then there's one reviewer who really criticized you very harshly, and you don't they score you so badly that you will never get funded on the submission because of that reviewer. If you resubmit, most likely you won't get a reviewer again. So if 2 scored it really well, just address the questions and resubmit it because probability is on your side. Number 3, you send it to the wrong place. This is one that shouldn't be as common with the amount of webinars I did already. Like, just see the right institute for you. There's a lot of people still sending it to the wrong place, even the wrong agency. Make sure if you apply for NIH, you have an unmet medical need. If you go to NSF, high risk, high reward, just make sure you're submitting to the right place, even within the NIH, that the center you apply for is aligned with your research. Many times they will realize it and send it to the most appropriate center, but with the amount of proposals being submitted these past 2 years, that doesn't always happen. And they will just discard, it will just be triaged. Then number 4, you should submit if you can address most of the criticism and explain. Yeah, so if you can answer most of the questions in a rational manner, you should probably resubmit your submission. So you have a month and a half to really write it down and clarify. So if you can address, you should resubmit. Then the last one, as in all the grant proposals, if you have time. So whatever your criticism is, even if you scored poorly, whatever, if you have enough time to do it, you should probably do it. So if you have time to address the questions, if you need a scientist and for your team and you have time to hire them, interview them in a month and a half, you should really try to do it. If you don't have time, maybe you should wait. Just do things well instead of rushing through it. And that's it. These are just general things I saw. There's exceptions, each case is a case. There's grants that have a 70 score or a 60 or a 55 because they didn't narrow the clinical trials. So if they can address that, their proposal is gonna score much better. So just analyze your proposal and see if the reviews were fair or if there's things you need to address. Okay, I hope this is helpful and let me know. Bye.